Hello and welcome to Gamers Getting Older.
where a group of older gamers get together
Talk about the good old days of gaming.
and how times have changed for the better or worse. I'm Brendan.
I'm Steven.
I'm Nick, and we are
Gamers
Getting Older.
Wow, that was
Perfect, guys. Perfect.
that was good, but not great.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Gamers Getting Older. Today we're talking about the Nintendo 64, an exciting system that was released at the dawn of us being children and being able to rent video games with Christmas money. So it's going to be a fun, nostalgic throwback. How do you guys feel about the Nintendo 64? You guys have some fond memories?
I love the Nintendo 64, especially its goofy controller. Definitely a lot of fun memories from
What a beautiful controller.
it was. From Zelda all the way to Donkey Kong to Banjo-Kazooie, like Mario, just you go anywhere. StarCraft.
don't forget the all-time favorite, GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye was a golden game. Absolutely. You know, the funny thing about the controller, an interesting factoid about that is it not complete solely, but a lot of the design around the controller and the analog stick was due to Morimoto. I believe it's Morimoto, the Mario guy. Correct, guys?
You got me there. I don't
Sure.
know.
Wait, hold on. I'm thinking Morimoto might be Masaharu Morimoto, the Iron Chef.
That's what I was about to say was Iron Chef, but
Yeah. Can we get a confirmation on Mario creator's name? Miyamoto was involved in the design of the analog stick for the Nintendo 64 because he knew that Super Mario 64 was moving in the 3D direction and he wanted the controls to be a very dialed in, unique, specific control scheme. That's why it's hard to learn, hard to master, but once you master it, you can move so fluidly in that game. So a lot of the design around the analog stick itself was from Miyamoto's team working on N64's Super Mario 64. Now that's not the entire design scheme for the controller. It was mainly designed so that you could have maybe say like the NES or SNES 2D style games. You could hold the D-pad and the buttons, and that would be like a kind of like a Super Nintendo controller. Of course, the other way would be holding it with the middle and right side of the controller. But they also, the design philosophy in mind was that most games don't even use every button on the controller. So they designed it so that you could use some in some positions, and the other ones that you couldn't reach, you wouldn't really need for the game you were playing because it wouldn't be designed in that way.
Yeah, I kind of like now that you mention that makes sense because I always wondered how when I was playing a game and I was holding, the middle the Joy-Con, using the joystick and the Z button on the bottom, I never really needed to use the left one that much because I was always like trying to figure out how I got my thumb to like shift all the way over there. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. You didn't really need to use it. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but checking yours, Steven.
yeah, I couldn't remember. I didn't want to say this and sound stupid. I couldn't remember if it had left and right bumpers. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking too. Like I don't ever remember playing a game where I had my hand on the joystick and needed to hit the left bumper. Because even like Super Mario 64, like you're saying, the camera controls and everything was all on the.
That's why you had the trigger on the bottom.
Exactly. Yeah, everything was on the Z trigger.
Yeah, the Z button, the most elegantly placed button of all buttons.
Yeah, that was great.
Right on the knuckle.
Target, everything. I loved it. The controller is amazing.
That's what I love about the Oculus Quest 2 controllers is because you have the trigger, but you also kind of get that Z button feel.
Yeah,
because it has the grip trigger.
Yeah,
it's just nice.
Yeah, I actually really love the 64. It was something that I got recently. Well, it was last year for my birthday. A friend of mine bought me one, and I was really excited to have like a physical 64 again. I've played a lot of stuff on emulators and everything as I've gotten older, but it was really cool to have an actual system again with some games that you can hook up and play on a TV. He bought it used from a game store, and when I got it, it really felt like the old days because the joystick would stick to one side and wouldn't reset itself because it was so just gunky and nasty. So I actually took it apart and cleaned it. The inside of those controllers actually are not made up very much. It's a very small chip, super easy to like open up and clean and take apart that joystick thing. I think the hardest part about that is just the spring in it. So it's a little difficult to reset. Once you clean it, it takes maybe 15, 20 minutes to clean. That thing works like good as new. It was amazing. I started playing some Mario Kart with it and it was fantastic to use again.
Yeah, they actually released. There's guides online on how to take it apart to clean it because it's such an issue with them getting stuck like that. Another funny thing about the joystick is, did you guys ever hear about the issues that came about from people causing damage to their hands playing Mario Party,
Yes.
spinning the
yeah.
joystick?
Yeah, on the inside of your palm. Yes, every time. I used to have a scar for the longest time there. It's starting to slowly go away, but I did have like a little mark from constantly like the muscle memory of
Mario Party was the ruiner of friendships. I mean, I think it was worse than some other games. That game could be so hostile among friends.
Mario Party was definitely the monopoly of video games.
It was so fun. I remember when the first one came out, it was a really exciting rental from Family Video, but I was grounded at the time and I was a kid and I didn't know what to do. I was mad. I wanted to play Mario Party with my brother. He was playing it. Looked like he was having a great time. So I was very angry that I couldn't participate in this great time. So I defaulted to, I laid on the floor and did half-ass sit-ups angrily just to show that my mom I was angry and just like watched him from a distance play Mario Party. I'm a pathetic child.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to get in shape and watch him play video games.
If only I had that mindset today.
Yeah, instead I just get mad. I'm like, I'm going to go eat a box of cookies.
Yeah, it's basically fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, I love going back and looking at the graphics of those games now compared to when we were kids. And it's just like, I remember them being better. Like you look at GoldenEye, it's just like for that, like this example. You know, I remember this really fluid game, seeing like these fantastic, characters and the amazing level. And then you go back and it's the super blocky like faces with no actual structure, like features, and it's just like there's no eyes. It's just like a line, and everything's blocky.
Well, and one of the funny things about that game too is most, like pretty much all of the characters have like this weird kind of like face texture spread over their face, to look like Pierce Brosnan and other people.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that show up, like the NPCs, are like the devs that worked on the game that they just peeled their faces onto. They peeled their faces onto the NPCs, so you're just murdering like all the people that made the game as you go through.
That's amazing.
But what a great game. I mean, a lot of people would say that Perfect Dark is better. It's hard to argue that, but it is easy to argue that Perfect Dark would not exist without GoldenEye.
Yes. I will say I'm biased. We played pretty much nothing but GoldenEye, so it's always going to be better to me over Perfect Dark. But I mean, how many times did you have a party of playing multiplayer for Perfect Dark? How many times did you for GoldenEye? I mean, I can count probably on one hand Perfect Dark, but looking at GoldenEye, I mean, it was almost every single weekend.
Yeah, I think that's probably the same for me too. Perfect Dark, we played probably a lot when it first came out, but then ultimately we kind of reverted back to playing GoldenEye.
Yeah.
And I think it was just some of the game modes and things like that always drew us back to GoldenEye. Golden Guns was always just a fun mode to play. Everybody was one shot kill. The things you could do with the proximity mines.
I loved proximity mines and remote mines. Those were so damn funny.
They were the best, especially like you talk about like the game rendering and being blocky, like seeing how many you could stack before they would just disappear because the game just couldn't render anymore. You'd have like 10 of them stacked out of a wall. Those were definitely the best thing though in multiplayer, because you could just rig an entire room full of them and somebody walks in and they're done for.
Yeah, I mean, Perfect Dark had a lot of really interesting guns though. I mean, the rail gun comes to mind immediately, that you could shoot through the walls and just kill anybody from anywhere. And the guns had different modes. Like there was one that you could stick to a wall and it would become a turret and it would just stay on the wall. But I think you could also continue to using the piece that you had left in your hand as like a pistol or something. It had a lot of really cool stuff, but I always played GoldenEye as well, just because it's what we knew. And I was also a big Bond fan. I grew up watching all of the classic Bond films with my dad. So I mean, in kindergarten, I was born with no enamel on my teeth. So I had to have every tooth in my mouth pulled except for a couple of the big ones on the sides and the back. And those they had capped with stainless steel. So my dad called me Jaws, like all of my childhood anyway. And if you don't know who Jaws is, he's from, I believe, the James Bond film Moonraker, where he's played by a very large man. His teeth are all jagged steel, and he could basically bite through anything like a shark.
Speaking of GoldenEye, did you guys see that there's a possible of it being remastered and re-released on Xbox with multiplayer?
I did, and I think it would be awesome.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, absolutely. There's already mods that you can download offline when you're emulating the game that lets you play it with a normal controller, so that you don't have to have the weird. You can aim properly and not have to use the C buttons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To aim up and down and side to side.
So have you gone back with a 64 and actually played GoldenEye anytime recently?
Yes, I have.
Every time I do, I am terrible.
Oh,
like I
awful.
start walking and my guy just immediately goes like, aims up towards the sky, or I'm aiming down at my feet. I'm like, how did I do this when I was a kid? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like doing it now. I mean, I can play on the computer, I can play Xbox, I can do everything. I can learn it within 5 seconds. But trying to relearn the 64 controls for GoldenEye usually takes me a little bit longer to like get that quick, because you used to be able to just walk around a corner, really quick whip to the left, kill somebody, and then bam, you're right back going the way you were. I mean, now it's like, you die to like an NPC and, the facility, doing the actual freaking quest in there.
The story missions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played the first level recently, and on the dam level, and I got the sniper rifle, that fire extinguisher with a scope on it. If you remember that, I tried to use it. I don't know what the heck it was going on, but I don't know how I ever sniped in that game. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, it's shaky, it's hard to move, and then like the AI is like, oh, he's aiming at me, I'm just gonna move a little bit.
Yeah. Just left, nope.
So many good games though. And like we recently talked about with the Dreamcast, having the back option in the 64 controllers, like when they came out with the Rumble Pad or the Rumble Pack.
Yeah.
Something that added more to the game and games that utilized that, which I thought was really cool.
Well, just like, I mean, you've got the expansion pack that you could have popped in the front of it for, then you had to have it for, what was it? Donkey Kong
64 came with it.
Yeah, you had to have that expansion pack, otherwise you couldn't. Because I remember one time I wanted to play Donkey Kong 64, and it wouldn't work because I didn't have the expansion pack, and I had to really quick pop it out, pop the expansion in, and then play.
Do you know what the expansion pack was and what it was for when that came out?
Wasn't it just memory?
It was. It was additional RAM for the N64.
Jesus.
So it increased the N64 from 4 megabytes to 8 megabytes.
Yeah. Well, didn't DK64 like crash the system without it? So like they were like, "What are we gonna do about this?" And they're like, "Ship it with it."
It's just absolutely crazy to think that it was 4 megabytes, and the expansion was an additional 4 megabytes.
Just
of RAM.
Think about that though. Like the games we used to play, like that's it. Like 4 megabytes, whatever, was enough. Now you wouldn't even be able to play a single game today like that.
Right. My PC now is running 64 gigabytes of RAM.
But come on, that expansion pack looked dope. It was like black and it had that red grid lining on top of it.
Little holes
it was
all
cool.
across the top. Yeah.
It was like future shit. Like if you didn't have it, you were a punk. Did you guys name your 64 controllers, by the way? At our house, we played a lot of GoldenEye, a lot of Smash Brothers, a lot of Perfect Dark, stuff like that. We had our controllers. We had the red controller of death, the blue controller of pain.
I definitely did not.
I never did. Everybody always had that one though at your house that company used. Like you had that one friend that you're like, yeah, you use this one. I don't. At least we did.
It's the one as kids we didn't know. Yeah, we didn't know how to clean.
Yeah.
So it would stick and
It's that
The A button wouldn't
handicap.
always come back up. Yeah.
Like, this controller's broken. Let me use the other one. No, that's why you have that one.
Yeah, I always used the red one. My brother always used the blue one. I just thinking about it, when Pokemon first came out, I got Pokemon Red and he got Pokemon Blue. Coincidence?
I think not.
Or were we just born mortal enemies? So says the team over at Rooster Teeth.
Did you guys get one of the fancy like see-through 64s that they had?
Don't even start talking about nuclear purple, that atomic purple. Anything Nintendo Atomic Purple, I just gush over.
Yeah, I love it. I had the orange one. The see-through orange. I loved it.
Dude,
when
I love
you
those.
started talking about like your favorite controller, the blue and the red, I was like, that was my controller. It was always either the orange or because we had a green one, and so I was either the green or orange. Like whenever we played,
Nintendo Atomic Purple, give me all of it. I want all of it. Like my first Game Boy Color was Atomic Purple, and ever since then, anything I can get that's Atomic Purple, give it to me. I love it.
I have to say, there's one game that comes to mind, only because of the new expansion that's out for Monster Hunter that brings me back to the 64 days. Turok, Dinosaur World. Do you guys remember playing that?
Yep.
I think it was Dinosaur Hunter.
Dinosaur Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Dinosaur World is the new sequel trilogy Disney is making.
But I remember playing so much Turok, and you could get so many different weapons and like arrows and all sorts of things to hunt dinosaurs.
I love Turok.
It was such an amazing game.
Do you remember the multiplayer? You could play as a Velociraptor.
Yes.
And you could headshot people, and there was a one-shot kill. So you would constantly like hide on top of a rock to try to like jump and try to slash somebody's dome piece with your claws. But it would ultimately fail. They turn around and kill you with their gun, with their hands.
Yeah. What about the Tony Hawk games? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
I liked that they were on 64 because all the specials had different sounds from the PlayStation, so it felt like a brand new game for some reason.
Yeah, I remember playing, like, the soundtrack for Tony Hawk Pro Skater was just amazing. Playing that, like, I could still, if I hear a song on the radio, it'll just like hit, and I'm like, oh man, that takes me back. Like, I just imagine just grinding out in like Chicago or like the big warehouses and stuff, and just going all over the place on that. Nope. Guess not. Tony Hawk.
I actually don't remember playing Tony Hawk on the 64. I remember playing it on the PlayStation, but I don't remember playing it on the 64.
I played on the 64.
Yeah, I remember playing it on the 64 just because it had the different sounds, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, you had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 all on 64.
Yeah, 64 rocked, man. You know, a wonderful game on the Nintendo 64 that we played a lot was Harvest Moon 64. I think we've talked about Harvest Moon before. It was a really, really fun game, and me and my brother used to rent it, and we would take turns playing to see how far you could get, but you could only have one save, I think. So you would do it, and we would play like as far as you could have 3 saves, but we did a challenge to see who could get farther in 1 hour of playing the game. So like the most money, get people to like you, get your farm going. Like in 1 hour, how far can you get? Me, my brother, and his friend Steve, both people who are older than me. I'm the youngster at the time, and we all just took turns for 3 hours, starting this game over every hour to see who could get farther. Just farming and stuff. It wasn't even like an action game. We were farming and giving gifts to women.
Another one that I remember, I think it shipped with the Rumble Pack. I think it's when the Rumble Pack became big, was Star Fox 64. And I remember it having
roll.
Well, I remember it having secrets and stuff and levels, like stuff that you had to do in order to get like different endings and to like accomplish different things in levels and unlock secret levels and stuff, which I always thought was really cool back then for a game to do that, to have kind of its own Easter eggs to be able to unlock more and do more. I remember playing so much Star Fox 64 when that came out.
Yeah,
it was probably one of my favorite games on N64.
A game I played a lot was one of the arcade games that came over as well was Gauntlet. Did you guys ever play that?
Oh, baby, don't even
Loved,
get me started.
loved some Gauntlet.
We played the heck out of Gauntlet. I mean, the 64 was perfect for 4-player games.
Yeah.
It was built for 4 people to play at the same time, and Gauntlet it was so good at making 4 people just demolish creatures on screen. There were so many things happening. There was always like chicken to pick up and axes to throw, and there like the announcer was really cool. Like the wizard has gained a life.
Oh man, I remember that. That was
Or what about everybody's favorites? Pokemon Snap.
yes.
I loved me some Pokemon Snap.
Pokemon Snap on the 64 is and will always be my favorite Pokemon Snap game.
The most basic game that I remember playing for hours and hours and hours on end. And like I loved how you had to like take pictures of certain Pokemon or do certain things in order to see like the evolution of a different Pokemon in that level.
Mhm.
And I thought
Yeah,
that was it was so crazy.
Yeah, and you had like this much time to get it done, right?
Yeah.
You had to do things like at the right time and the proper order so that at the end of the level, the Charmeleon will fall in the lava and it'll break out as a Charizard. You'll get to take a few pictures.
Or like taking pictures of the Dig Dug in a certain way to get the Dug Trio to pop up out of the ground.
Yeah.
There were so many like little secret things you had to do to get the right pictures and like force evolutions and stuff. That was a really good game. I have the new one. I enjoy the new one. It's fun.
I haven't played the new one. If I'm being honest, like I've really only ever played the one for 64. So it's kind of the only reason I'm like, yeah, this one's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, that's the only other one.
Is it?
Like I remember when it came out, I went to Best Buy to buy it in person because that's the kind of person I am, I guess. And I couldn't find it anywhere, so I had to go to a Best Buy guy, and I was like, "Hey, where's Pokemon Snap?" He showed me. It was on an end cap. I found it and I bought it.
Out of all the N64 games that you played, what do you think was probably kind of like the weirdest or like goofiest N64 game that you can recall playing?
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Mystical Ninja, not Mystical Ninja. Absolutely.
I think mine would be Clay Fighter.
Clay Fighter was great. Was it Clay Fighter 33 and a third? Was that the
63 and a
SNES one?
third.
63 and a third.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clay Fighter was super fun. I think Boogerman was a guest. Was it Boogerman in that? A guest star fighter? I can't remember. But whatever. That game was super fun. I love that just claymation bashing.
Yes.
You know what the 64 was really good at was racing games. I mean, how many racing games did you play on the 64 compared to how many racing games you play on anything now?
Yeah, none. Like, but you had the Star Wars Pod Racers.
Star Wars Pod Racers, you have Mario Kart, F-Zero.
Yeah, F-Zero.
Yeah. Which, by the way, F-Zero just came out on the Nintendo Switch Online, 64 part of the service or whatever. So you can play. We could play it together if we wanted to sometime, because you can play all those games multiplayer online. San Francisco Rush 2049. Hello. Come on, cruising.
I was about to say cruising.
Well, there's the
Was it
Wave
Cruising USA?
Cruising USA, and I think Cruising World as well.
the Wave Race 64. You run around on Wave Runners.
Wave Race. Yeah, I mean, the jet ski games.
Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh, so many good ones. So many good ones.com.
Did you guys ever play Conker's Bad Fur Day though?
Oh, absolutely.
It's still to this day one of my favorite 64 games. Easily top 2 for me.
Oh, I love it. It's a super fun game. I think did Rare make that? I think Rare made that.
Yes. Yeah, they did.
Rare had a really good track record for making games, and
Mhm.
then they made Ukulele.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I wanted to get I played Conker's Bad Fur Day at a friend's house, started to, and I wanted to play it myself at my house. And my mom wouldn't buy it for me because it had the M rating on it. So I had to wait for my dad to get home. So that way he would at least take me to rent it, if not buy it.
Yeah, that was the great thing about Conkers was my dad was like, "Oh, this is a game that I would enjoy, and I can be like that cool dad that lets them play it." So it was win-win for us kids.
I think another one of the 4-player games that I absolutely fell in love with, mainly because it was like a port over from an arcade, was NFL Blitz.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I
Blitz,
loved playing
yes.
Blitz at the arcades. And then when it came out, and I remember early on, we would just randomly hit the buttons to try and get like big head mode and like unlimited turbo and all those sorts of things. And then you had the old
You had all the
websites.
symbols.
Yeah.
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 And then when I'm trying to think of what one of the main websites we would go to. I know there was one that we all used.
Cheatcc.com.
Yes, cheatcc.com.
Cheatcc.com was my man, for sure.
I remember we would all go there when we're like, oh, we want to play with these cheats and we want big head mode, or we want this, we want this. And everybody would plug in something different so that you'd have like 4 or 5 things or 4 things all at once to play as while you're playing NFL Blitz.
Yeah, we used to have to work to put in the cheat codes. Now you just pay $2.99.
Yeah.
That was definitely a good one. I wish that they would come out with another NFL game like that. It was like one of its kind. It was like the only one I feel like they ever made. They may have made another Blitz, but I remember playing very much that, and I don't feel like it's ever came back.
I remember being at a friend's house playing it, and his dad was really big into football, and we started playing it, and he's just watching it. And he's like, "What is this? This is not football. Turn this off." And he like pulled it out mid-game, ripped it out of the 64, and would not let us play it. And so when he went to sleep, we grabbed it and started playing it ourselves. It's like, screw you. This was amazing. We want to play this. What is your guys's top 64 game? Or if you can't say top number 1, maybe your top 3.
I would need to do top 3.
Okay. Top 3 games and go.
I'm gonna split genres. I'm gonna go Super Smash Brothers, because what a game. I used to play that game so much. I remember I unlocked Captain Falcon on accident because I was playing it. I would wake up early and play it before school, and I was trying to beat the arcade mode before I had to leave for school. So I was just trying to get as fast as I could to beat it before I had to go to school. And then eventually I unlocked Captain Falcon. And I was like, this is amazing. That's how I'm so fast. But so Smash Brothers number 1, I'm gonna say Super Mario 64. No, I'm gonna say Ocarina of Time / Majora's Mask. Those are one thing.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I'm gonna have to go. I need a top 5. I need it's Mario Kart, it's San Francisco Rush 2049, it's Mario Super Mario 64. It's those 2 Zelda games, and for number 5 Smash Brothers, and then number 6 I gotta
right,
stop.
Nick's,
But
Nick's 1 through 100 games that he loves. Here we go. Steven, what's your top 5? Since Nick did 5.
My top 5s would have to be Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, as the pair of those together. Super Mario 64, because I just absolutely loved the open world-ish kind of concept of Super Mario 64. And then probably Duke Nukem 64. I really loved the Duke Nukem game, and Duke Nukem 64 was definitely a fun one to play. And then I would have to say probably NFL Blitz. I just really I've always enjoyed the football games, and that one was a lot of fun. As for number 5, that's a tough one because there's still so many good games out there.
GoldenEye for number 6 for me.
I'd have to put GoldenEye at number 5 as the top 5 games. I'm sure there's some that you're going to mention or somebody will mention later, and I'll be like, oh, that was a really good game too. But those are the ones that I can remember playing so much of all the time. I actually have a copy of GoldenEye behind me on my shelf.
7 is Harvest Moon 64. 8 is Paper Mario.
Well, I'm going to kind of go the same as you guys for the Zelda games. Both of them, number 1 for me. I definitely have to say probably number 2, which a very close second is which one did I say earlier? Damn it. Now I'm trying to think. Conker's Bad Fur Day. I don't know why I just drew a blank. So first, both Zeldas. Second, Conker's Bad Fur Day. I'd have to go third, honestly. Banjo Kazooie. I loved that game. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah, 9 is Banjo Kazooie for sure.
Then GoldenEye, and what is that? 4? Mario Kart 64 would be my top 5.
How much Mario Kart? Okay, question about Mario Kart. You obviously we all played it multiplayer with people. Did you play it more racing or did you play the battle levels more?
See, as I used to love the battle, like when I was younger, I would say probably more of the battle as a younger player. More so now, if I play it, it's the racing because we do the drunk driving Mario Kart where you have to finish your beer by the end of the lap and you have to pull off to the side of the road to drink. And
Oh, that's hilarious. That would be fun to do.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I played battle way more as a kid. I specifically remember that level that was like 4 like 2 or 3 level blocks that were all different colors, and they had the bridge that connected them up top. And on like the second level and third level, there was a bridge that connected them, and it was a big square with squares, and it would just do that. It was just this awesome level, and you just drove around and shot turtle shells at each other. It was great. One thing that I think that is really interesting and a good thing to kind of close this off with is, did you guys know that there was a planned expansion for the Nintendo 64, a full-on hardware expansion called the Nintendo 64 DD drive?
Really? I did not.
Yeah, I believe it was either Majora's Mask or Wind Waker. I might have been Wind Waker. I can't remember. It might have been Majora's Mask. It was originally being designed for this N64 DD drive, which was this. I mean, the way it looked was it was like a larger. It looked like a flat Nintendo 64 because you set your 64 on top of it, and it had a big drive, and these were like thick, like DD discs. Like they were like, it looked like they were like an inch thick and a couple inches wide, and they look like giant floppy disks, and you just shove them in the front like big cartridges again. And it was an expansion on the entire system, so it could run games, better with more powerful hardware. And they were working on it in Japan. It might have released in Japan a little bit, but it didn't really go anywhere. And because they started working on the Dolphin, aka the GameCube.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. If you're ever curious about it, there's a guy on YouTube that I watch a lot. His name is Metal Jesus Rocks. He's a retro game collector, and I love him. He's great. He's one of the best retro collectors on YouTube. But he actually has he found one of the pieces of hardware. It's a developer N64 DD drive. It's a US version, but they didn't make any games or anything for the US version. So he has like some N64 DD games that he has from Japan, but the DD drive itself is region locked, so he can't play any of them. All he has is like the dev disc that it came with that they were using to like code games and like test stuff.
I'm looking at the picture of this. It literally looks like a mini, like VHS shaped like a 64 on the bottom. That's interesting.
Yeah. If you look at the bottom of your 64, it should have the expansion slot there because they had this in mind.
Yeah, I was just looking at it too, and it says that it didn't sell enough units to be profitable, mainly due to delays. There was 2 years delay, 2 years of delays in the making. But I was just looking at what it looked like as well, and you're right. This is something that they were thinking about because the bottom of the N64 has a removable plastic piece, and inside of it is a spot of where you would plug in the DD drive. So it would sit and plug in to the bottom of the 64. That's crazy. I had no idea. I don't ever as a kid remember looking at the bottom of my 64 and thinking, what the hell is that for?
I think I opened that up just to blow in it because maybe the 64 wasn't working. So you just blow in everything to try to get it to work. But there's so many more games that we could talk about. I think we'll probably have to revisit this topic because I mean the N64 was prolific for our generation because we were just at that age where we were like old enough and smart enough to know what we liked and what we wanted, and we didn't have jobs. We weren't old enough to make money, but what we did have were report cards. And what did Family Video do for A's? A free rental. So I would take my report card down and I'd get to rent my one, maybe two video games. I wasn't that great in school. But I specifically remember getting the Star Wars Pod Racer game rented because of an A I got in school. So boom.
Now this is pod racing.
Definitely a great system. I actually, like I said, I still have one now, and I do love hooking it up and playing it. I actually need to get another controller because I've only got one controller right now. But
Mine's hooked up to my retro station right now. I have a little station that has an old tube TV, and I have my 64 hooked up. I've got my PS2 hooked up, and I've got my original Xbox hooked up. I actually just bought a handful of old, I almost said new Xbox games, original Xbox games. I don't remember what all I bought, but I was pretty excited about it at the time. I think I got like Dead or Alive. I got Bloodwake. It's called Bloodwake, which is Twisted Metal but with boats. So that's pretty exciting. I got Munch's Odyssey. It's pretty fun. Just a couple that I've been wanting that I saw over down at Killian's.
Yeah, I was gonna say my 64 is hooked up right here behind me, and it's got Ocarina of Time in it because I was playing it not too long ago.
Do you guys ever use the Nintendo 64 online Switch application?
I do actually. I recently started Ocarina of Time, and I am through the first two dungeons as Young Link.
Nice.
I play it on occasion, like when the wife wants to hang out, but I don't really want to watch TV. I'll take the Switch and I'll play kind of some N64 games or other games on the Switch. But yeah, I was really excited when they came out with that. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of backlash because of the price difference, but really it wasn't that expensive to pay for the difference and get the N64 stuff. And they run pretty well. I know there's a few people that said that they felt like there was a delay, but I didn't really feel like I had that issue because I was playing for a while on the external controller. I had no issues playing Zelda. I didn't feel like there was some trigger delay or things that people were experiencing. It was great. It was definitely difficult to get used to. You're kind of talking about GoldenEye and not doing well with the controls. I was playing Ocarina of Time and I'm in the castle and I've got my slingshot and I'm trying to do the thing where you shoot the rupees, the little mini game, and I'm like jerking way left, way right. I'm like, I remember doing
we
this
used to be assassins with
as a
that
kid.
bow, and now it's just the only way I can aim properly in that game nowadays is if I play the Nintendo DS version, which has motion controls. So that I just kind of move my hands a little bit, and I'm like, there we go.
I haven't got the online version of it yet, so for any of the 64 stuff, I want to, I need to.
You haven't subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online?
Haven't. I have the online. I just haven't upgraded it to get the 64. I have not upped yet. I still have the online. I just haven't upgraded. I have a 64 behind me with all the games that I want to play right now.
I love
anyway.
laying in bed playing Paper Mario.
Leave me alone.
So nice. They recently added Earthbound to the SNES application as well, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I think it's safe to say that we are all big fans of the Nintendo 64. I think that this, like I said before, this is probably going to be a topic we revisit because I don't think that 30 minutes, 40 minutes is enough to really encapsulate everything that we have to say about all of the nostalgic memories around this console.
Something that we've missed over the last few episodes is a good, not great. Can you think of any N64 game that you played that was good but not great into comparison of the games of like the N64 genre as a whole?
I would say the good, not great for a game would probably be StarCraft 64. What do you guys think?
I think that's you're talking about the one, the StarCraft port from PC to 64.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice.
And why would you say that? Because I never played it on PC. I didn't have any of the PC. Just curious, because I didn't have a PC with those games early on. Was it smoother on PC, I assume? Obviously, PCs would have more.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt smoother when I played it on PC just because you were able to use the hotkeys and everything for the keyboard. The scrolling on the map was a lot easier than just using the joystick. And because I've never been one, even back then, I never was one that liked scrolling the mouse, because on the StarCraft 64 you still with the Joy-Con were moving the mouse across the screen and had to click on stuff and drag and select. And so actually playing it on the computer versus 64, I would say it definitely was good on the 64. I had a lot of fun, but it wasn't great.
I can see that. Yeah, that would make sense.
I definitely agree there. I mean, as a kid, being introduced to StarCraft, not knowing about the PC market, and seeing this game that we had never seen before, and learning that there was a way to play it that didn't involve holding a boomerang, where you could actually select things properly, and there was a lot of hotkeys. You could save formations. It was like Control 1, Control 2, or whatever, so you could save like packs of dudes to reselect later. I mean, it really broadened the horizon. So it was good in the sense that, like, yeah, it introduced us to StarCraft. But the controls, when you jump over to PC, I mean, the PC version, that's the great one.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever played it on 64, but I could definitely see what you're talking about as far as the joystick moving a mouse around would make things very difficult versus just actually having a mouse in your hand and being able to do that and then still operate everything else with the other hand on the keyboard. I'm trying to think. I've played a game recently that was like that. Well, I guess I haven't actually played, but one that I think of that I played a little bit with controller when they added the controller support was Diablo 2, the remastered. And to me, that's still been weird. I know that Brendan, you played on the Switch. So I guess to me, that would be kind of what I would think in my head. I played it so much on PC that I was so used to the mouse control with the keyboard that playing it on a controller was just different to me. You're not having the ability to hit control or whatever to see all the items on the ground and that sort of things. It was just different. Trying to play it with a controller or would be the same idea as kind of playing it on the Switch. To me, playing with mouse and keyboard on a computer is what made Diablo 2 great.
Yeah, controls matter. Controls definitely controls can change the entire way you look at a game. I mean, look at Resident Evil 1 compared to the Resident Evil 2 remake. I mean, it's the same formula, the same kind of item management, but it's broken away from the static cameras and the tank controls, and you're just free to just sprint around like a madman.
Yeah, just crazy to think how games have changed in that aspect, and how some games even changed within the same system, like having those tank controls, and then the new game comes out and still using the same system, but the controls are better. They found ways to code it better and still use the same controller. And you get a better feel for the game itself just because they're able to code those movements better versus just up, down, left, right. Now you have, up, left and down, right, and you can move at angles and not just, that tank style, forward, back, left, right style of movement.
Yeah, I love playing games from like the NES up, because like if you're playing your little sprite and you do a full turn on like the joystick or whatever, and it just goes north, south, east, west. But then you play like a game later and it hits all 8 points on the compass, and you're like, okay, I see, we're a little farther along the road for this game. Well, that's going to do it for the Nintendo 64 episode. Thanks for hanging out with us gamers getting older. We're off to go buy a bunch of black clothing and gloves to go break into a local retro gaming store. Hopefully they have a lot of really good games for us to steal. So unless we're in prison, we'll see you next week.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. That's Gamers Getting Old on Twitter and Gamers Getting Older on Instagram. Also check out our merchandise at gamersgettingolder.com.
You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go Mac, right? Like,
Do it, baby.